Hey, Scott Sambucci here over at Sales Qualia, and I want to bring to you a lesson from the trail in this LinkedIn Live recording podcast, wherever you're finding consuming it. And so let me just kind of set the stage for you, and the theme here is consistency. Consistency. So it's a word that I think a lot of us know is important, but it's not one of those words that gets a lot of the big appeal when it comes to hustle and hard work and making things happen for ourselves. And I want to sort of talk a little bit about my experience doing some training that I'm doing right now for an ultra marathon coming up in June, and how this idea of consistency has really helped me step up the level of my training and my preparation for this race. And most importantly, I want to bring this back to the work that you're doing every single day, the work that all of us are doing every single day. And so when I think about consistency, the word consistency, it's a principle that for me, I think has made the biggest difference in my life when it comes to endurance and ultra running, as well as the business that I run. So what I'm going to do is just quickly show you my screen. And so if you're looking at the screen right now, what you're seeing is my Strava. So Strava is a place where I log my workouts, and I work with a running coach named Jeff Browning. Jeff is a 4-time top 10 Western States finisher. He holds course records in a number of 100-mile races, 50-mile races. He's just an all-around badass. And so I've been working with Jeff this year to prepare for the Western States 100. So the Western States is, if you're not familiar with it, is sort of the Super Bowl of ultra running. It's that one bucket list race that everybody wants to do. At least most ultra runners want to do. And fortunately, I've been able to get a spot. I had a spot in last year's race, which was canceled, and so it rolled over into this year. And my big goal for this race is to not just finish. Of course, I want to finish the race, and I want to do it and be healthy and happy doing it. I want to finish the race in under 24 hours. So you have 30 hours to complete the race. And if you finish in under 24 hours, you get a special silver buckle that says you finished in under 24 hours. And so in my bathroom mirror, I've got a sign that says 23:59:59. In my morning journal every day, I write down 23:59:59, and I write that down multiple times. And everything that I'm doing, everything that I'm thinking about, all my training is focused. The reason I'm working with Jeff is because I know I can finish the race in under 30 hours on my own. But I'm working with Jeff because I really want to elevate to see if I can break this 24-hour barrier. And so in working with Jeff for the last couple of months, in March, what he did is he had all of his athletes do what he calls a Giddy Up Strength Challenge. And here on the screen, you can see I'm kind of just showing you the list of strength exercises. These are all body weight exercises that basically anybody could do. And some of them are actually pretty hard in that they're not like difficult physically, but the coordination and working different muscle groups that I don't normally work is what makes this kind of hard. And so in this idea of consistency, he said, look, we're going to do this every day. He's having all of his athletes do this every single day for the 31 days in March. He said, are you up for the challenge? And so what I did is I built out a little spreadsheet for myself, and you can see, so that I could track this day by day. And I printed this out. And it enabled me to sort of keep track of my own progress and know whether or not, was I sticking to the plan. And so here's now on the screen, you can see this is the printed version of that spreadsheet, and you can see all my check marks throughout the month. And so I was able to complete the 31-day challenge doing these strength exercises. It was either doing all of those 15 or 16 strength exercises or doing at least 20 minutes a day of strength work on your own, whether it's lifting weights or some other type of work. So about half of the days I did the circuit that he prescribed, and then the other half of the days I hit the garage and did deadlifts and shoulder presses and all the stuff I like to do. What's interesting about this, for me, the lesson on consistency is that in several of those exercises in the beginning of the month, I literally could not even really do them. I was falling over because of my balance issues. Some of my muscle groups were really weak in areas that I hadn't been working on them. One of them is called runner's arabesque, which is basically you kind of stand on one leg and you put you bend over, put your arms out straight, So it's kind of like Superman leaning forward, and then you take one of your back legs and you lift it up so it's parallel to the ground. So you're kind of like flying. It's almost like you're flying through the air with one leg up, one leg on the floor. So it's a really odd muscle group. You're working your core, you're working your glutes, and just the configuration of your body is just really weird, especially for me because I'm weak in those areas. And so standing on one leg requires a lot of balance and building some strength. And so I mention all this because the consistency of doing this every day, not just did I see myself improve through the days and weeks that I was doing this in March, but I also improved as a runner. So when I look at when I go back to Strava, one of the things that I have is I log all my activities here. And so here on my screen, I'm just showing you some of my longer trail runs that I do each week. So every Saturday, usually Saturday or Sunday, I go out for a long trail run started off being 14, 15 miles. Now I'm into the 20-mile range. And some of these are in the same place. So I'm able to measure my performance on these trail runs and in sections of these trail runs over the course of, on a week-to-week basis. And what was really fun for me is seeing the consistency of the work over not just the 31-day challenge, but over the course of the last 3 months when I first started my training for this race on January 4th. Because when I start looking at some of these individual performances of my own on a random Saturday when I'm doing these trail runs, one of the things that's cool about Strava is that they show you if you've improved over certain sections. So there's certain sections of this run that are pretty well known. There's a hill called K2. There's certain stretches of the trail that it compares how you're doing over time. And so this is just my most recent run 2 Saturdays ago. And this is a run that I do pretty frequently. And what I've seen is that every week I'm setting PRs on certain sections, certain climbs, or I'm getting faster on some of the downhills, or certain stretches that are a little bit flatter. I'm able to move a little bit faster, and I'm doing it at a lower heart rate overall. And it's all part of that consistency of putting in the work, right? And so I consider this like a lesson from the trail, because I think for me, like one of my mantras when I'm out there doing my races, my friend Kelly and I talk about this idea of relentless forward progress, and it's an important mantra when you're out there on the trail, that you want to keep going. Like you want to get to the next aid station on a race, even if it's 3:30 in the morning and the aid station's 10 miles away and it's 25 degrees outside. Like you have to keep going. Like you don't really have a choice to just stop. It's the idea of relentless forward progress. Or you're at the bottom of a hill and you're looking up and you're like, I got to climb 2,000 feet over the next 3 miles. Like, are you kidding me? Do I really have to do this? And you just tell yourself, well, yeah, I do. And you just put one foot forward and you just start climbing. And it's this idea of relentless forward progress. And that's important in the moment when it comes time to do a hard thing, right? And this is where maybe it starts to bring it into work a little bit. I think most of us, you're willing to do the hard thing that's in front of you. You're willing to make the next phone call. You're willing to stay up late and prepare for the next meeting. You're willing to make the decision to let go of a team member that's maybe underperforming, and you've given them enough chances and you finally said, all right, look, we've got to make a switch here. Those are all difficult actions to take, difficult decisions to make in the moment. And that's that one obstacle that's in front of you. And when that one obstacle is in front of you, whether it's those hard decisions or those actions at work, or on the trail, it's climbing up the 2,000-foot mountain, or pushing yourself to the next aid station in the middle of the night. Those are obstacles that are sitting in front of you, and this idea of relentless forward progress is important. The idea of consistency, though, is what can we do every day to condition ourselves so that we have fewer of those big obstacles, or those big obstacles don't seem so big or so scary anymore, because we've done the work and built the foundation to get us there, so that 2,000-foot climb doesn't feel so big and so long. There's a part of the Western States Trail that runs from a place called Swinging Bridge, which is about roughly halfway through the course. And from Swinging Bridge, you're now in the middle of what's called the canyons, and the canyons you have a couple of really large climbs, and you're coming out of Swinging Bridge, and you have to climb up to a place called Devil's Thumb. And it's about a 1,500-foot climb, and it's pretty steep. It's like 1,500 feet in about a mile and a half. So you're climbing pretty steep terrain. The trail is a little bit sandy. It's pretty rocky, and it's exposed, and it's just hot, right? And it sucks, right? And then you get to the top of that climb, and then there's a long descent, and you end up at another place called El Dorado, which is a creek. So you go up to the top of this mountain, you hit Devil's Thumb, and then you end up down at the bottom at a place called El Dorado. And then from El Dorado, you have to climb up to a place called Michigan Bluff, which is another 2,000 feet. So you've climbed up 1,500 feet, then you have a downhill. You have to climb up another 2,000 feet to Michigan Bluff. And again, it's a long 3-mile climb. It's a little less than 3 miles, and it sucks, especially the first mile out of El Dorado. Climbing up, that first mile is really steep. It starts to level out a little bit. It's a little bit less steep as you go. But the idea is the consistency of doing the work makes those climbs a lot less intimidating. And so, again, bringing it back to the trail running, the strength work that I just mentioned, as well as the consistency of working on the hills every single weekend and twice a week, every Wednesday, every Saturday, doing a trail run. And my coach has me doing this certain climbing regimen, which is when you're on a hill, he calls them 11-7s. So even if you're going uphill, you're still run, and you run for 11 breaths. So you take, and you're not going all out. Think about your body in gears. Maybe you're like in second gear, like a truck going up a steep hill. You're not walking the hill. You're running it, but you're running it slowly. But running it slowly is faster than walking it. And you do the uphill for 11 breaths, so maybe it's, 40, 50 strides. And then for 7 breaths, you walk and catch your breath a little bit. And then you do 11 breaths of running and 7 breaths of walking. And this 11-7 is this idea of like getting into a rhythm where you can start to run some of the uphills. And doing that in training conditions your body to know that, okay, yeah, even though this is an incline, it doesn't mean I have to walk. Maybe I can run at least a little of it. And as I've been deploying that into my training over the last 2 months, it's also helped me to become a better climber. So now, not only am I a stronger runner because I've been doing the strength training, now I'm more confident to know that some of these hills, like the climb out of El Dorado up to Michigan Bluff, that's 2,000 feet, when I did that climb in training a few weeks ago, again, I set a PR. Like of all of the years I've been out there doing that climb, for all of the races that I've trained on that hill over the years. That's the other day was the fastest that I've ever done it, because I've put in the consistent work every Saturday, every Wednesday, learning how to do the 7-Elevens, reading the terrain, and pushing myself to be a better runner. And so I've found that this consistency over time, now if I go back to Strava again, and one of the things I've been doing is, the other thing I like about Strava is that it also gives you a view of your training over a long period of time. And so one of the things I was looking at just this morning was my monthly activity totals. So if we go back a year to April of 2020, which is right after lockdown, and nobody knew what was going to happen. And so I still had to figure out, I wanted to do some running. I wanted to stay in shape. And I was doing garage exercises as much as I could in between homeschooling and everything else that was happening. And by May, I decided I was going to do a 47K or 46K run on my 46th birthday. So I was putting in some miles to train. And even with the May miles on my birthday, there was a little bit of a bump. And then things dropped off a little bit in June and July. But then in August, I started to train for an FKT attempt. Some of you might remember I attempted to do a 200-mile route on my own back in October. And again, I was ramping up miles, slowly and surely every week, getting trained, getting ready, and even through wildfires and that we were experiencing and the second round of lockdown and all that stuff. But then after that race, or after that attempt, I slacked off in November and December, really just let my body recover. And now January, February, March, again, I've been ramping up. And when I look year over year and I look at the trend month over month, I can see that my mileage now in January, February, March actually is equal to or exceeds any of the months that I'd done last year. And that to me, again, is a testament to consistency, because over that course of that year, going all the way back to lockdown, when I made the decision a year ago that no matter what, I wasn't going to drink any alcohol during lockdown until I was comfortable feeling like, okay, we're kind of out of this first round of pandemic, and none of us knew what that was going to, how long that was going to be. For me, I ended up not drinking any alcohol from March all the way through till July of last year. So that was a decision I made, and that's a decision of consistency, right? It's one decision to save 1,000, as Greg McKeown likes to talk about in his book Essentialism. And it was that consistency of saying, like, I'm going to avoid alcohol. It was a consistency of saying, another decision I made after lockdown was, I'm going to exercise every day no matter what. And some of those exercises, some of those days in the garage were 8-10 minute workouts, short CrossFit workouts with kettlebell swings and push-ups. But it was exercise each and every day, no matter what. I made that decision, and I stuck to that. And when I look at where I am now with my training, looking ahead to where I really want to be by the end of June, where I want to be by the end of June is to have a place where, those mileage months that I'm showing on my screen are getting bigger and bigger. I'm feeling stronger and stronger. I'm able to do it without injury, so that I put myself in a position to possibly break the 24-hour number that I want to hit, the 23, 59, 59. And so it's not just the training that I'm doing starting on January 4th that's enabling me to get to this place where I feel like I've got a chance to break 24 hours. It's the consistency of the training over time. It's the consistency of decisions I made a year ago to not drink alcohol, to not backslide, to make sure I was exercising every day. Even if I wasn't training for, a real race, I could still stay fit. I could still stay healthy. I could still stay mentally strong and consistent on that. And because I was able to build that base and keep that base through lockdown, that's what enabled me to even try to do the 200-mile AFKT last October. And that consistency as a base and foundation is what's enabled me to start in January and go even higher with the training and be able to push myself. I wouldn't be able to do some of the training regimen that Jeff Browning has me doing right now if I hadn't done the foundation work last year. Some of these strength exercises are only possible because I set the foundation. The distances that I'm running every week, now running at least 50 miles a week consistently and able to recover quickly, is all possible because I've built the foundation of strength and endurance, and didn't lose too much last year, even though there weren't any official races on the calendar. So consistency is not fun sometimes. It's not fun when, during lockdown last year, I remember one Friday night, I told myself I was going to skip. I was going to skip the workout. I can't remember exactly when it was. I think it was maybe like late April. And, it'd been, 6 weeks or so of lockdown. I'd, done the exercise every day. And I was just really tired on a Friday night. I'd done my work at my business all day, done the normal dinner time, family time, and I had to do more work that night. So now it's 10:30, and I'm finally just exhausted. And I was just like, I'm going to bed. And I went to bed, and I was laying there in bed and thinking to myself, I didn't do my exercise today. And I knew I didn't do my exercise. It wasn't like I forgot. I chose not to. And at that moment, I decided, no, I have to stay consistent. I have to stick to this. This is too important to give up. And so I got up out of bed and put on my workout clothes and went to the garage and did a 10 or 12 minute workout. It wasn't a big workout, but it was something to stay consistent. And I think those decisions of accountability to ourselves and those choices that we make around consistency are what really enable us to break through, to even give ourselves a chance to reach new potential, to reach new outcomes, to reach new heights. And that's what I'm trying to do with this 24-hour goal that I've set for myself. So what does this all mean, in terms of the work stuff? So I think there's some places of consistency that are easy to as a business owner, right, we know the work that needs to be done on a macro level. We know that there's things like sales calls that need to get done, and if you're a founder of a company and maybe you are the salesperson, you should be doing sales every day, right? You just know because it's the engine, it's the lifeblood. The revenue coming in is going to be what helps you fund the company. It's going to be what gives you evidence to your investors, past and future, that the plan that you have in place is working. It's going to give your team confidence to know, like, hey, the product that we build is something that people want to buy. They see value in it. So you know that sales is important. And yet it's easy to forget the consistency that needs to happen to make sales an everyday thing. It's, did you do your 20 touches that day, right? Sitting down and saying, okay, can I do 20 outreaches today? Can I do 10 LinkedIn connection requests? Can I email 10 people that are on my lead list? Can I, go back to the people in my sales pipeline and figure out a way to generate a new meeting? Can I do 20 of those in a day in total? I think the answer is like, yes, you can, if you make it the priority for yourself. There's other places to have consistency. There's consistency in team meetings and team communication. There's, that you have your daily stand-ups or your weekly team meetings or your one-on-ones with your team members every single week or every single month. There's a reason those work. There's a reason those are important to a business, because you need to, as a founder, as a leader, be able to communicate to your team, be able to help them do their work even better, be able to learn from them about what's working and what's not working in the systems that you've built. And the idea of consistency there is just as important as the consistency of doing sales every day. Because I know I've done this myself, where I have a prospective client who wants to join our coaching program, and they ask, like, this sounds really great, can we talk again on Friday? And I look at my calendar, and Friday is my operations day. Operations where we just focus on internal work, and occasionally I'll take some calls and meetings that are external with clients or prospective clients or partners. But most of all, Friday is supposed to be an operations day. And there are times where I will book a call with a prospective client over top of an internal team meeting. And I've forgotten the importance of that consistency. It's showing commitment to, not just to myself as a leader of the company, and a commitment to consistency to the company itself, that this is an important day for us to communicate. It's also showing consistency to the team, to show them, like, you are just as important as the prospective client. You are just as important as the current client, because the work that you're doing enables us to serve those clients that we have. The work that you're doing enables us to find new clients that want to come and work with us. And so the same with you. I think it's easy for any of us to push off that one-on-one or skip it for that month, or that team meeting on Friday, scale it back to 30 minutes instead of an hour and try to rush through it because you want those extra 30 minutes, or skip the daily stand-up because you're too busy doing other stuff. There's that consistency there that you don't always see the evidence of where and how that pays off. However, the consistency of doing that work is what allows you to better communicate to your team. It allows you to better support your team. It allows your team to know that you're holding their work as important as the work that you're doing yourself and the meetings that you're having as a founder, as a leader. So I think that's another place where not just sales, doing your sales work every day, but doing your company team meetings and communication every day. It's doing quarterly performance reviews. Yeah, it's hard. It's a pain to find the time to go through and do these performance reviews. But what's the difference between how can you improve the outcome of your team members if you were doing quarterly performance reviews instead of annual performance reviews, and really taking those seriously and investing that time to do those the right way? I think it's an opportunity for us to get more consistent in helping our team get better. So consistency could also mean, making the time, investing in yourself to learn and do more. When you see a webinar or a workshop or a training or some opportunity to learn and get better from somebody you know and who you trust, maybe you see that webinar that got posted and you wanted to join it and you added it to your calendar and it's Thursday at 2:00. And then again, you get that phone call, or you're talking to a prospect, you're talking to a client, and they say, hey, can we meet again Thursday at 2? It's easy to backslide and say, I'll do it at Thursday at 2. That means you haven't been consistent with yourself around making sure that every week or every month you're taking advantage of a learning opportunity. Or if you're already working with a coach, are you taking advantage of that to the max? I work with this running coach, Jeff, that I've been talking about. And one of the things we do is, every third Thursday, we just spend 30 minutes on the phone and we just go through what the training regimen is going to be like, how you doing, how you feeling. And it's easy for me to just say, well, we're just going to talk every Thursday. And he doesn't ask for me to do this. But one of the things I do is I put together a summary email. And I do that ahead of those Thursday meetings so that he knows everything that's going on before we get into that call. And it takes me like an hour or an hour and a half to go through, how's my training, how's my nutrition, how's my mobility, how's my sleep, how am I balancing work and family with my training. That diagnostic that I'm doing on my own is hard to do. And I do it also on the off weeks that we're not meeting. And again, it's the consistency of that diagnostic and that check-in, so that I'm not just depending on, okay, we're going to meet every third Thursday and Jeff's going to tell me everything. It's my responsibility to take advantage of the training that he's offering. It's my responsibility to take advantage of his expertise. And if I'm just relying on him to show up to these meetings and tell me what to do, instead of taking the accountability, taking the ownership and saying, no, it's my job to get the most out of this. So again, there's consistency in that weekly flow of communication. And whether it's, that flow of a coach maybe you're already working with, or an advisor or mentor that you're communicating with, and making sure that you're making the most out of those, or it's sticking to consistent learning with a webinar a week or a workshop a week or a training a week that you can go to. And when you do those things consistently, it may not be that you're not going to learn one cool new hack or trick in that next webinar, but the consistency of the learning, the consistency, just like reading books every week or listening to podcasts every week, it's the additive effort over time is where it's going to get you to the place that you want to go. Even more, it's going to be the example to your team to say, hey, every Thursday I'm joining a webinar, or every Friday I have a call with the coach that I'm working with. And I expect you to do the same. And when they backslide and they tell you, well, I couldn't come to the webinar this week, I couldn't do the learning opportunity because I had this other thing, now you have an opportunity to hold them accountable because you've been consistent and you've been accountable to yourself. So I think that's a good place to stop for now. I've been thinking a lot about this consistency over the last year because it's hit me in different ways. It was a year ago making the decision to work out every day and not drink alcohol. I think that consistency really, helped me mentally pull through what were, hard times. And relatively speaking, they weren't as hard as they were for most people out there. It's still a challenge, right? With my son at home, no school to go to, my wife and I balancing our schedules, trying to keep healthy. It was difficult. That consistency of exercise and no alcohol, I think really bridged me through those first months of lockdown. The consistency of training, giving myself something to work towards, that FKT attempt in October. Continuing to train even though there was no race on the calendar. That consistency built the foundation, which enabled me on January 4th to start training for this 24-hour threshold. And I'm firmly convinced that if this race would have been last year, even without lockdown, even if I would have made this goal for myself of sub 24 hours, I don't think I would have had a chance of breaking it. And I still don't know if I'm going to break 24 hours this year. The race is at the end of June. I've still got 2.5 more months of training to go. What I do know is that the last year, being consistent with the training, being consistent with the strength, being consistent with everything I'm doing, I feel that much more confident through through seeing these PRs that I'm setting for myself each week out there on the trail, seeing that I'm able to do these strength exercises that I couldn't do 6 weeks ago, feeling more confident, feeling stronger, having my recovery times be that much faster. All of that has been additive over the last 12 months. And in a lot of ways, I'm thankful that we didn't have this race last year, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This literally could be the only time ever in my life I'll have a chance to do this Western States 100 race, because it's so hard to get into. And so if I have this opportunity, I want to make the most of it. And this past 12 months has given me the opportunity to continue to build a foundation of endurance and fitness and knowledge. So now I feel like I've got a much better chance. Even if I don't get there, I've got a much better chance this year than I would have had last year, because I've had more time and more opportunity to put in the effort on a consistent way. So I wanted to share this because it's made a big impact for me, and I'm still, I'm still in this journey, working towards this 24-hour goal, and I'm still on this journey just like you every single day with building my business and helping it grow. And that consistency of effort across the board, personal training plus, consistency of effort with the company, and persevering through hard times and staying committed to, the sales work that needs to happen, the marketing work that needs to happen, the delivery work that needs to happen, the team, the internal work that needs to happen. That consistency of effort, you don't always see the benefits that day or that week or that month. But when you look back over the past, 3 months, 12 months, like I've been able to see with my endurance training and with my own business, I feel like that consistency has been the single biggest factor for me that's enabled me to grow on the training level, on the business level, and also on the personal level. So my challenge to you would be to look for places where you have inconsistency. Like, you might be willing to push through and work on that big project or focus on that big obstacle when it's there. I think that the longer view is to say, well, what can I do every day consistently so that those big obstacles don't feel so big, or that I can move them out of the path altogether so they never show up in the first place. What work could I be doing? What effort could I be putting in? What's the right work for me and my team to build those consistent frameworks, implement on those frameworks, so that when the next challenge comes around on this journey, on this path, on this trail for me, that it's not as big, not as gnarly, and I've got a way to push through it. So, all right, that's it for now. Thanks for listening to or watching this LinkedIn Live if you're watching, and listening on the podcast if you're listening afterwards. I definitely would like to help you with any consistency that you feel like you want to have. It's one of the things we do best as coaches here with my company at Sales Qualia, and individually, if there's something I can help you personally with, I'd like to be able to help you out with that. So if you want some more help with this, then the easiest thing to do would just send me an email, scott@salesqualia.com, sales, Qualia, Qualia.com, and just type the word consistency into the subject line. And that just lets me know you want to have a chat, or you want to talk about how maybe I can help you become more consistent with the work that you're doing, and help you identify what is your 31-day, I'm holding my sheet in my hand now, what is your 31-day strength challenge that helps you get into a rhythm, that helps you improve, that helps you become more consistent, to build that foundation so that 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 3 years from now, you're able to hit the outcomes that you want to hit. So shoot me an email with the word consistent or consistency, or if you're watching this on LinkedIn, just drop a comment down below, type the word consistency, and I'll show you how we might be able to help you out. All right, that's it for now. This is Scott Sambucci signing off, and my last message to you is go farther, do more, be happy, surprise yourself. Go farther. See ya.